Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Friday edition HockeyBuzzcast. Before we get into it, Russ is somewhere where you can hear hockey sounds in the background. Where are you exactly?
I'm at the USHL Fall Classic.
Okay, very cool. Where in the country is that?
Okay, so it's in Cranberry, Pennsylvania. It's where the Penguins practice field.
Okay, very good. Very good.
But you can't even call this a practice facility. This is like an amazing setup there.
It looks pretty intense. Yeah.
I'm in a restaurant now.
It looks like ex backyard rink.
Kind of.
He wishes.
We're working on that.
If it was a backyard rink for back-to-back champions.
Yes, right. Yeah. Well, actually, you don't know who trains in my backyard. Might be just as good as them.
Not touching them.
So, yes, the big yes is coming to the Kimmel Center on Sunday night.
I know. I'm seeing them Saturday night.
Okay, so you're seeing
in Trenton.
Okay, so yeah, Kimmel Center on Sunday night. Someone offered me a ticket to go see this. I might go to that one. Kimmel Center is a beautiful, beautiful facility.
Yeah, you should go.
Crazy.
It's not named after Jimmy Kimmel, is it? That's a problem with that.
No, it's been around for a while. Longer than Jimmy Kimmel. So the interesting thing about this is someone brought up today on a radio show is when do we think it's there are two touring yes groups right now that are basically following each other. Quite often they're a couple days apart from each other, and they're both called yes. They're both touring, both as yes right now, playing like sometimes a week apart. At what point do you guys think it's fair for a person for a band to tour under the band's name? Like, do you need founding members? Does it require at least one person in that band, or should it require more than one person, or should it require What are your thoughts?
I think it required two founding members, and the other faction of Yes has it, and this one has it, and that's the problem. But the Steve Howe faction is getting bad reviews, where the John Anderson one is getting great reviews.
It's funny, because Russ and I talked about this a couple days ago, because in one of my trips from Niagara Falls up for Leafs training camp, there was posters showing that Yes was playing. Yes, featuring John Anderson, Rick Wakeman, and Trevor Rabin were playing at Falls View Casino in Niagara Falls. And when I saw them at University of Buffalo last year, they were just Anderson, Wakeman, and Rabin. So they were after the Hall of Fame induction, they came out as yes. So it is a little confusing because I had a chance to go see them in Toronto, and I'm like, okay, which yes is this? Are they together, or what's going on? And screw it.
Yeah, I mean, there are bands now that don't have, that tour around without any members of their band and that go by the name, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, like Leonard Skinner.
It is crazy.
They have one person, I guess, in Leonard Skinner, and then the vocalist is the brother, right, of the other vocalist.
Yeah.
So does the fact that you're related by blood give you any more validity to the name? That's what I wonder as well. Does that?
The problem is when like the one guy is like somebody who joined the band like halfway in, like that's not even the real member name.
Right, but halfway in could have been 25 years ago with some of these bands.
Yeah, that's like saying Genesis, and the only member of is Ray Wilson.
Yeah, so I mean, if you play with a band for 20 years, I mean, are you part of that band? I mean, when that band breaks up, at what point does that? There's so many, and it's weird. I mean, Yes obviously has done this a bunch of times, and Chris Squire before his death actually had talked to people about this in interviews and said, what he wanted to be the case. Like he wanted there to be. He thought of Yes like. I was listening to Michael Sperkanish today on XM Political Radio. I like Michael Sperkanish. He lives in the area. He lives near me, and he also is a fan of my band. I've known him for a little while, and he's a big fan of Yes. He's going to the Kimmel Center as well. And he said, that he was talking to people, and they basically were saying, that before Chris' passing, Chris and John Anderson founded the band. They're essentially the key founders of the band, right? Chris wanted
Peter Banks.
Right.
Peter Banks.
And Peter Banks, right. Well, Chris believed that anybody could call themselves Yes, like the Philadelphia Orchestra could play Beethoven, or that someone could play Bach. It's like the Yes music should be looked upon like that. You're playing Yes. So if you're playing Yes, you are Yes to him. So he felt like he said there were something like 18, there have been 18 members of Yes since the beginning in one way, shape, or form. Some of them have played very little, some of them have played a lot. And he wanted all 18 of them there for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I thought that would be really good. But I don't know, it's interesting. Like, remember when Bonham, his son played with Led Zeppelin in the Led Zeppelin tour.
Yeah.
And then it brings up the final debate question, which is this. Would Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr going around as the Beatles be the Beatles?
No.
They could be, because they're the only ones living. I mean, maybe Yoko would have a problem with it, and Olivia Harrison, George's wife. Actually, the funny thing was, I had heard something, and it's never come to fruition. I had heard that there was going to be some sort of tour before they got too old, with Ringo, with Paul McCartney, with Danny Harrison, the son of George, and Sean Lennon, or I don't know if it's John Lennon or Julian Lennon, that there would be some sort of tour like that, but it's never happened.
I've heard that too. Now, is that the Beatles? Do you have family members?
Well, I mean,
you have two original Beatles, which have enough. I mean, that's that's no different than like Steve Howe's. Yes, I mean, this is like two Beatles, but the Beatles are the Beatles, So it's like if you tour. I wonder if Paul McCartney could do it, in conscience. I don't think anyone would stop him from doing it. I think he's allowed to do it,
Yeah, but let's just say this. I mean, and it's not like nobody knows that that's what's going on. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, everybody's gonna know it's gonna be Danny Harrison and Julian Lennon or whatever it is. It's not like they're keeping it a secret. With Yes, the thing is, there's a concert announced, and I had to go to the website to find out which lineup it was. I wasn't sure if it was Steve Howe or it was the John Anderson.
Right.
But the kids, it's a fall off though for the kids. Like Julian Lennon is like 12 steps down from John Lennon.
Yeah. Right. I mean, and and I'm a bigger fan of Julian than Sean's as far as his music goes, but they're basically neither is John, right? So, right. George Harrison's son is very good, though. I mean, he's a really talented guitar player. And so I mean, everybody is. I don't know. It's just interesting to me what's going on, because when you go and see it, I remember really seeing Yes. I mean, I recently saw Styx without Dennis DeYoung.
Let's not go down that road.
Right, but that was every other person in Styx is still there. So I mean, they could call themselves Styx, but the lead singer is a big part of what a band is. Like if your lead singer's not there, then you're not. That's why I had problems with Genesis when Peter Gabriel left, for a while. But then over time, of course, they proved they were totally an awesome band. Although I still would not have called them Genesis.
Well, what if it turned out to be like Billy Joel hangs it up and it's Billy Joel's daughter, like Desiree, whatever her name is. Like that's come on. We can't get there. We can't go there.
No, I mean, well, apparently Kiss has a new band coming out that's all new members that are being run by Gene Simmons is sanctioning it and is going to handpick the people, and is going to allow them to go around and make money for him essentially. Then you're just like a touring company.
So he's licensing out his own music to another
He's actually
band.
forming his own boy band, basically, to play Kiss music.
Only Gene.
That's what's happening. So they're going to go around, and even though he's not even in it, anyway, it is. All I can say is the Hockey Buzzcast, requires me and Mike and Russ, and without that, years from now, I'm sure at least you're doing your own version of the Hockey Buzzcast. We'll have to have little fights over the whole thing.
Well, I have no kids,
it's
so
like
they can't.
Hockey Buzzcast featuring Dan. That's true. That'll be like the obscure, he continues on, but he's like the obscure, but wasn't there all the time guy, but actually continues on longer than us with the name. That's how I see it.
Dan would be the Shen, yeah.
Dan would be the guy. He would be like the extra third guitarist in the back who now tours around as the Eagles, like that kind of thing.
And Owen would replace you at.
Right, exactly. With some kind of puppet, probably.
Russ the Chicken.
Russ the Chicken, exactly. Russ the Chicken could replace you. The funny thing is, my son does a better Russ the Chicken than I do, and I've forgotten how to do it. He figured out. He came up with it. It's on his YouTube channel all the time.
That's not saying a lot.
No, but he imitated my voice to the point where I can't do it anymore, and it's so funny because he's like, "Oh, I imitated you." He's awesome that way. He's doing a whole thing, which is very cool. The high school they're having a puppet thing in their next play, so he's actually producing all the puppets and directing it. It's great. He's 12 years old, so it's pretty awesome. Anyway, moving on. Let's get going with the show, shall we? It's September 29th. Hello, Hockey World. Excuse me, 1 second. I got a Wisniewski stuck in my throat. There. All right. Hello, Hockey World. It is Friday, September 29th, 2017.
I'm Michael Lagello.
I'm Russ Cohen from school.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time, on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And I guess, it's funny, I got a text today. I just want to just address this briefly. I got a text today that I was the last hockey blogger standing from the original group of bloggers that blogged today because Greg is has left Puck Daddy. That's like apparently the end of a blogging era.
Where is he going? This is news to me. Where is he going?
He is leaving immediately. He has this big blog post about it. He is not saying where he's going. I know where he's going, but
okay.
We can discuss it at a later time. I think I know. I heard where he was going earlier in the summer. But he's he's obviously a talented guy, and but he's leaving Puck Daddy, which means that Puck Daddy, the whole it's still going to keep going on Yahoo, but it's going to be very different, obviously, because he's the star that's with it, right? But the original, the original hockey bloggers that came out of, came into that. I fail to think that's possible because I don't necessarily call Russ a hockey blogger. You've been around longer than me, Russ, and you're more of a hockey writer, I guess. I always look at Kevin Greenstein, was one of the original hockey bloggers too. He doesn't really write too much hockey anymore. But so there's plenty of us still out there. But there you have it. That's the news of the day so far. We're gonna get into reviewing a few teams here.
So what are they gonna call the column now? Like Puck Dudes?
It's gonna be still Puck Daddy apparently. I think he wanted Puck Daddy to go on, which I kind of agree with. Like if I was fascinated, I'd want Eklund to go on in some shape or something else, or somebody else, whatever. But yeah, I think it's a character. It's fine.
Well, but before we get into the reviews, there was a significant contract.
Yes, there was. Craig Anderson is signed for 2 years. With the Ottawa Senators at 4.75 AAV. This is not a young Anderson. But Craig Anderson is he's as important as anybody on that team right now. And I think it's a pretty good signing. It's a little bit of I think they would have loved to do 1 year thing, but they had to do 2. Type of situation. But it really extends after this year, right? So it's like so there's 2 years after this year, correct?
It's 2 years after this year. He was a UFA at the end of this season. So, it's so he's through the 2019-2020 season. I believe the AAV is 4.75 million, which I think it's fairly reasonable. It's not top line goaltender money, but I think this is more they're paying him because he's a good goaltender, and I think that was the third highest save percentage in the NHL last year. But it's also, this is, he's been good to that organization, loyal to that organization, and so I think that it's sort of a golden parachute in a way as well.
Absolutely. He does, absolutely. The Islanders have officially, according to CBS News in New York, have officially petitioned the NHL to leave Brooklyn and return to the island. So that's my news. That's my sound effect for that. I thought that was pretty. It's not anything surprising, but it is. They are. They haven't said the word that they want to get out of there. Right. I guess we all thought it was coming, but
the NHL is going to fight it based on the amount of seats.
Yeah. Bettman said that going back to Long Island was a no-go, so this is sort of flying in the face of that. Yeah,
it really is. Another kind of interesting piece of news before we get to the teams we're going to talk about today. Jaromir Jagr is currently playing on a Czech team. Is signed to play with the Czech team Kladno, right? Kladno. But he will not play in their game on Saturday. Apparently, and bringing up speculation that somebody here in the United States or Canada is talking to him pretty seriously enough that he's not going to play in this game.
Or he pulled a muscle because he showed a picture of himself on Facebook pulling a tractor. And he said, "Can you do this?" And then he answered it with no. So maybe he...
Well, all I know is
harness.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, all I know is that his name has been mentioned in connection to the Blues the last 24 hours ever since the Fabry injury. And where there's smoke, there's probably fire. But I heard yesterday from, I believe it was Ray Ferraro from TSN, that there's more than one team pursuing him now. Calgary is very desperate for a scoring right winger.
Yeah, they've been talking to him all summer.
Yeah, and now St. Louis as well. So maybe it's now a question of who's going to give me more playing time, who's going to give me more money. I mean, he might be in an enviable position.
Yeah, and I know that at least two teams are talking to Iginla too, and I think there's a reason that we haven't seen Iginla retire. I think that's something that people would think that we would get a Iginla pushed to, but that's not the case. We'll see how that plays out. But yep, for sure. Here we go. Nolan Patrick, first fight in the NHL yesterday. We talked last night. Nolan Patrick gets in a fight, which is what I told Russ that he needed to do in his first game with the Flyers. Just I know he's not a fighter, but he picked on David Krejci. Those two heavyweights going at it.
Wow.
Two guys whose biggest concern is usually am I hurt. Right now, it's rare that you'd see. Nolan, I was impressed by Nolan not throwing punches at a guy's helmet and mask, which is what people often just do. Tried to make sure he tried to get under the shield, and he tried to get the helmet off, but he wasn't just going to wildly.
Connor McDavid injure his hand fighting. Maybe that's why.
Right. I mean, it's ridiculous too. I mean, you should just be allowed to wear your gloves if people have helmets. This is my thinking all along. You should be able to fight with your gloves on if people have helmets. Why not? Does it matter? What are we taking the gloves off for? Really, to protect the player. But if you get a helmet on, right allowed, there you go.
But if everybody leaves the glove, wasn't like an unbalanced penalty that could possibly happen. Remember, there's trickery involved with that.
Right. I love the fake throwing the gloves down thing. When people have done that before, that's awesome.
Yes. It's an extra 2 minutes. I mean,
that is an extra 2 minutes. That's something that you have to look out for there. I don't know if you guys saw the Kevin Fiala shootout. This is pretty impressive. Let me bring this up real quick. This is awesome. Like I've talked about my admiration for Kevin Fiala for a while now, and I really think that this guy's a superstar. But this just sort of ices it for me. This is very much a superstar-ish type play. Here we go. Get back here. So watch along. This is the Patrick Kane move, essentially,
Yeah.
Wow. We skate up really fast, stop, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This is why you need this is really why you need a guy chasing it, like we talked about. That's really tough to stop, that play. But I'm a big fan of Fiala. So what teams do we have on the docket for today, Mike?
Vegas and Washington.
Oh, yes. Oh, before Vegas, I want to mention one thing I mentioned in my blog as well. The Matt Duchene rumors are hot and heavy now because there's two teams, basically in Vegas, in Colorado who want to move Matt Duchene, and Montreal who really need something quickly. That there's a definite discussion going on between Montreal and Colorado, and Columbus is also in on this with Colorado. We've talked about it many times. Columbus has the better to make their trade, but it looks like Sakic is going to finally have to get more creative and a little more proactive in this. Well, instead of just listening to offers, he's going to have to actually throw out the first offer. I think both those situations are saying basically come to us with an offer.
I think Mark Bergevin. It's strange that only the Montreal Canadiens could be forced into making a move, maybe not of desperation, but a move just the same after going 0-6 in the preseason. There's a lot of not panic, but a lot of concern about their speed on defense and about their lack of scoring. Now, I don't know what the deal would be when it comes to Duchene, when it comes to Montreal, but I would have to think that it would involve Galchenyuk.
Yeah, that's the key name. It makes sense because they need to move him too because it's not working. Him in the preseason has not been a good thing. He obviously,
he obviously doesn't want to play the wing.
Lost confidence to them. Yeah, he doesn't want to play the wing. All that's very true. So I think Galchenyuk's the key factor. And I think and watching it, so last night I watched the Vegas Colorado game from beginning to end, pretty much. Yeah, I missed like the first 10 minutes of the game after the Flyers Boston game, where the Flyers looked very good last night too. But Colorado and Vegas. I mean, if it wasn't for Varlamov, Vegas would have blown Colorado out of the water. And we were talking about a situation where both teams are basically playing their starting lineups for the NHL season. And Varlamov, I mean, Colorado wins that game, but only on the back of incredible play of Varlamov. I mean, and when you say that you need your goalie to come up big to beat the Vegas Golden Knights of the NHL, you really need to do something. I mean, there's no question about it. They were getting shelled, and the Knights have some nice looking players actually. They're young and they've got some size on that team. Watching them play.
So you're bullish on them getting 30 wins there? How many wins?
I don't know yet, but I'd say I'm definitely more. I think they're going to be better than most expansion teams have been in the past. So,
well, you come up with a number, I'll bet you.
Okay. I mean, granted, I was watching them against Colorado, but the whole point of it is Colorado just needs to they need to do something. They cannot go into the season looking like they look bad. If you have any solace as a Colorado fan, you probably wanted them to lose last night to Vegas.
Are we considering this the team preview because there's nothing to base it on? There was nothing.
We'll do official team preview, but let's start with the Capitals first, okay? All right, so we are down to 4 teams, by the way, in our team preview. If you guys aren't figured home, we have Washington, Vegas, Winnipeg, and then Columbus, which we skipped for trying to get a special guest on, and I'm working on that for Monday, so we'll see.
Trying to get the Cannon.
What was that? Yeah, I just wanted to see if the Cannon will show up as a
Not Nick Cannon, not the host of.
Right. Wouldn't it be funny if every time we mentioned Columbus, I fired off a cannon here in the office? That would be something. That would really get annoying after a while. Like the All-Star game in Columbus got annoying after a while. That many cannon fires. Okay, so Washington last year, number 1 team in the NHL. So the number 1 team in the Metro Division is pretty obvious. But they were the best team in the league, too. They were top in the game in goals per game. And that was on a year where Ovechkin was just okay. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't superstar Ovechkin. And yet they was top in the league in goals against per game. A surprising 17. I think that I would have guessed that they were in the top 10. But they aren't. They're not even in the top half goals against which is interesting. Power play percentage, third best in the NHL. Penalty killing, 19th best. Again, I would have guessed higher on that one too. But we're still a team that finished with 81 more goals scored than they had goals allowed. So that is almost that. For those of you who are good at math, that's pretty much 1 more goal per game that they scored. They got 1 more goal in the season. They would have been 82 for 82 games, but they got 81 plus 81 for 82 games. So that is impressive. And this is a team, that obviously that they have made some additions. But not giant ones. Really, they went out and they got Steve Kelly. They got Paluzzo, may or may not be a factor for them. And they have Alex Chazon on a PPO. Is that still you going to sign with them? Have they heard anything about that?
It's still, I believe it's still in limbo. I think he's still there, but they haven't made a decision yet.
Okay, well there you go. By the way, it does look like Winning's going to sign in Minnesota.
Minnesota?
Yeah. Waiting on that one, but that does look very probable. And also, actually hearing that Scotty Upshaw might be going back to St. Louis as well. Heard that today too. Even though Scotty Upshaw has been on a PTO with the Vancouver Canucks, with all the Blues injuries, they're going to bring him back in. So that's not exactly Jagr, but it's something they might make a move on. All right, so this team has the biggest thing about this team to me is the contracts that are hanging over their heads coming up are a little bit tricky, right? Like they have John Carlson's going to be UFA.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
Yeah, it is. I mean, well, there's been a mass exodus there. Obviously, Justin Williams is gone, Altner is gone, Shattenkirk was a rental. Yeah, there's been a great changeover. But I mean, Carlson's a UFA, and to a lesser extent, Lars Eller's a UFA. I don't think I'm that concerned about that. But Carlson's the big one, and after signing Orlov to big contract. They have Niskanen and they have Orpik making over $5 million. They have Orlov making over $5 million. Carlson's essential to that team on the blue line. I mean, if they're not willing to pay him over $6, I would say $6.5. He's going to go free agent too, and then I think they're in real trouble.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
I think he is going to go UFA, but I think he's going to stay there all year.
Yeah.
I think he's going to stay there all year too. I think he's going to want a major contract there. It's going to put them up against a pretty serious decision. I do think the Capitals don't care though, because I think the Capitals really, their focus is they have to win a Stanley Cup for this team, and at this point, that's what they're thinking about. That's really all they're thinking about.
Yeah, I think their chances are a lot less to win the Stanley Cup this year than they were last year. With that.
Why do you think that? Because everyone keeps saying that, but I don't see it. I don't see why they would suddenly be worse.
Because the depth of the organization was so much better last year. And now it really depends. It really depends on a lot of youngsters coming up and stepping into roles, and that there's no certainty in that. I mean, Jakub Vrana is a very good prospect, but can he step up into a role like Justin Williams where he can score 20 goals? Who knows? Madison Bowie is a very good defensive prospect, but can he step up to play a defensive role like Carl Alsner? I don't think it's reasonable to expect that. I think he's a good young defenseman that's played at the AHL the last couple of years, but I don't know if he can adequately fill the hole that's been created by the departures on this team. That the guys that are there are going to have to step up. Burakovsky, and a few others will have to really step up to make up for the departures.
I think a big key is to what he used to do. Let him play his game. Stop trying to let him be a complete player. I think if he does that, he'll score 50 goals again, and we won't have this conversation.
I mean, I like him with Backstrom too, and I know they've messed around with putting him up with Backstrom, and I still think he's better with Backstrom. I think there's this combination there that, I mean, he scored so many goals together. Why would you move them apart? And I don't.
Because you're putting all your eggs in one basket, and that's
not really, because Netsov is a pretty big egg. He's not like, I think he's a serious player, right? I mean, Oshie's a serious player. You've got other players.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that that's not the case. I think they have to. Last year they had a 3-line offensive attack. This year they have a 2-line offensive attack, and that's much easier to keep in check.
I think they have more than that. I think they have more than 2 lines. I do.
Well, they could.
I mean, their third line, even if taking Vrana away, maybe according to with roster research, they have their third line as Vrana, Eller, and Wilson, right? And I think Eller and Wilson are 2 very underrated players. I think Wilson especially underrated. Eller,
Wilson scored in the playoffs, but the question is whether he can do that in the regular season. He only scored 7 goals last year, so if he can get up into double figures, then he provides some secondary offense. But they're going to need guys like Beagle, Eller, Connolly, who to score in double figures to give them secondary offense.
Yeah.
But really, it's going to come. They got rid of Marcus Johansson, got rid of Justin Williams. I mean, those are tough. Those are tough goals to replace. That's 48 goals right there that they got rid of.
No, that's true. I mean, but I still think that a lot of people are thinking them to fall out of the playoffs.
No,
these are ridiculous.
No, that's stupidity.
People are far off. I mean, they still have maybe one of the best goalies in the league. Not the best, but he's definitely one of the best.
Of the teams that are going to be heavily reliant on their goaltender, like Montreal and Washington. Washington is in a much better place to make the playoffs because they do have offense.
Yeah.
They do have a defense that can move. Montreal is in the same boat. Their defense is not as mobile, and they don't have as much goal scoring. So I think while many people, and justifiably so, are picking Montreal to finish outside of the playoffs, I think it's not justifiable to pick Washington out of the playoffs. They're going to be a playoff team.
Yeah. I think that we can all say they're a playoff team. The weird number, I tried to find a weird number for them as I'm trying to for other teams. This is pretty easy. At least according to rosterresource.com, the top 3 lines, Burakovsky, Backstrom, Oshie, Ovechkin, Connolly, Vrana, Eller, and Wilson. What do all 9 of those guys have in common? They're all first-round picks. How about that? 9 first-round draft picks.
Oh, yeah.
9 first-round draft picks in your top 3 Lions team, which is not bad. Yeah, I don't think I've seen. We definitely haven't had another team that had that. So, and then on their 4th line, they've got a 7th-round pick in, in what they're calling Gravlock, right? And the 2nd line is with Pelly, and Jay Beagle wasn't drafted, which I didn't realize. Jay Beagle wasn't drafted, which is, and Jay Beagle's quite a great player too. But then they have 3 defensemen who are first-round draft picks, 3 defensemen who are second-round draft picks. So we're looking at a very highly drafted team here. In general, hopefully it was a 4th rounder, which I didn't realize. Hopefully it was actually a 4th-round pick. So.
Yeah. Well, because it was the mental thing with him for a long time.
Right.
That's why he was 4th round.
And that's the that's the goalies thing for sure. But yep, I think looking at this team, I'm looking at Washington as a playoff team too, and I think they are still. I'm not gonna say they're better than Pittsburgh, because I don't think they are this year. I think the Penguins will be better. I think Penguins will finish ahead of them, but I think the Caps are in 2nd place in my mind, and they might not want to finish in they would probably want to finish in the wild cards, like avoid the Penguins.
Yeah. I think 2nd's right.
Yeah, I think 2nd or 3rd, depending on how much they have to depend on Holtby, how much the departures affect them. I mean, Pittsburgh, the concern is the Stanley Cup hangover. Washington, that's whether they're going to, be able to weather all the changes. I mean, nobody is perfect in that division, so yeah, I'd say they're going to be in the top 3 for sure, though.
Yep. Well, there you have it. All right, so let's move on to the Vegas Golden Knights. This is a tough one. Of course, there's no previous statistics to talk about with this team at all.
They're a clean slate.
They're a clean slate. Everyone's the first player to wear number 19, the first player to wear number 87. There have been some players that I've been very, very impressed with. And you got to take that call real quick, Mike. Take over for a second. Sorry.
Okay. Well, Russ, I think that this team is in. I mean, okay. The expectation for an expansion club is not high. I think that the statements made before the expansion draft, this team had the ability to potentially be competitive for a playoff spot, was laughable, because you knew that they weren't going to take the best players available, because they made a bunch of arrangements with other GMs to take certain players, to take cap hits, to take players who are on injured reserve, to get extra draft picks. I think McVie was smart in that respect. But if you look at the lineup, and you look like they have 11 defensemen right now, that McVie said he's going to have to trade one of them or 2 of them possibly before the season starts. If you look at it, there's maybe 1 or 2 guys who you can consider a top 4 defenseman, and the rest are bottom pairing guys. So when you have a defense of all 5s and 6s, it's not going to be very good.
Well, we don't know, will Eric Brandstrom go beyond the 9 games? We don't know that.
No.
That could alleviate the problem, too.
Right, but you're talking about an 18-year-old kid. I mean, it would be impressive to see him make his debut at 18, but maybe it's been more beneficial for him to play a year in the minors or go back to Sweden, whatever they decide, and play in the World Junior and not do that. I mean, but the thing is, other than say Shea Theodore and maybe one other guy, most of these defensemen are bottom pairing guys. And that's, they're NHLers, there's no doubt, but when you have a 5-6 defenseman playing 20 minutes, which they're going to have to do, I then think that's going to cause problems. Plus, there's not a lot of scoring there. You've got James Neal, you've got Jonathan Marchessault, and after that, Shipachev could make the conversion over from the KHL to the NHL, and, he'll probably get a lot of opportunity to do so. There's just not a lot of offense there. So, I'm predicting them to be they won't be as low as Colorado's point total last year, but they'll be pretty close. I think they're going to be in this point range.
I don't know.
I think that's.
Go ahead, Ross.
No, I think. What points did you say?
60 point range.
No way. They'll be under that.
So you think 50 to 55?
I think lower than that.
Wow.
Oh, I disagree very much so with that one. That's why you want to make this bet, obviously, Russ. But yeah, I don't. I think that they have enough. They have enough gumption on this team, and they have Marc-Andre Fleury is going to keep them in games. So it's like they're not going to be, and and even Calvin McCarr, that.
Yeah, but how?
Pretty good players.
How long is Fleury going to be there? That's the question. Is this just, he was the best guy to take. He's a starting goaltender. He's a 3-time Stanley Cup winner. All that's great. But at a certain point, the organization looks at him and says, we can get a lot for this guy.
I think he is going to stay there for at least 5 years. Throw that out there.
So do you think he's going to retire as a Vegas Golden Knight?
The reason I say that is because one thing, Marc-Andre Fleury loves being the starter. Like, he does not want to go into another situation where he's not the starter.
Well,
he waived his no-trade clause specifically to go to Vegas. He wanted to go to Vegas because he knew that in Vegas he could be the guy and not have to worry about it.
Well, I think he waived to go to Vegas because he knew he was going to be the backup in Pittsburgh. I agree that he wants to be the starter, but I also think
he specifically said that. I mean, he didn't waive his no-trade clause to go anywhere but Vegas. That was what was interesting about it. That was he said he would only go to Vegas. Why was that? He could have gone to any other team where he could have been the starter.
Well.
But he chose Vegas. I legitimately think he likes this concept. I think he likes the idea of being a part of it. He likes the idea of being the face of it.
Russ, maybe I'm way off base here, but I get okay. If I've won 3 Stanley Cups, maybe winning a Stanley Cup isn't like high on my list of priorities. It's getting playing time and whatever. But for him to get another contract, if he's playing with Vegas and plays 60 games in Vegas and his goals against is 3.5 and his save percentage is under 900, that's not that's not a great selling point for teams out there who he potentially go to as a free agent in a couple of years.
Right.
I'm 50-50 if he even stays there a year. I think he's possible he gets traded at the deadline.
I think there's a chance, but I think he can stick out the year. I don't think he's looking for another contract. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, I don't think he's thinking that way right now. I think he can stay in Vegas even if he has a bad year, and they'll pay him a lot because they have a lot of money to spend, and there's no reason for them not to pay him a lot. And he's already shown that he wants to be there, and he's taken on a lot of. He's shown up at every photo thing, everything for them. He's been there, he's
the face of the franchise
concept in a big way, And I think part of that is because he really wants to be in a situation where he's not feeling the pressure of anyone else. Going to stay there, and they're going to give him the job as long as he wants it.
Yeah, he's the face of the franchise, and there is a certain cachet in that. And if you're thinking about post career, somebody who is the face of a franchise early on, he can set himself up in business. He can set himself up as being part of the organization. I get that, but if he wants to continue his career, I think he stays in Vegas as little as short a time as possible.
I think the X factor is how bad of a season he has, like by the All-Star break. Like if his defense is brutal, he might want to get out of there.
It's possible. I mean, the guy has already won Stanley Cups. He's already done all the things he needs to do. I think that he's not one of these guys who he is incredibly competitive, but I think he also has resigned himself to something here. That he's enjoying this. He enjoys on this underdog situation. I think it plays into Marc-Andre Fleury really well. Fleury has never been a great. All the playoff issues that he's had in the past. He had great playoffs, but he also had playoff issues. And when he had playoff issues, it tended to be from pressure bouncing. I think you put yourself in a situation where you can make a lot of money, be the starting goalie, not feel a lot of pressure, do anything crazy, and really anything.
What if he's facing 45?
Yeah, but he's the kind of goalie who loves facing shots.
You don't want to face 50 shots a night,
Right.
He probably doesn't care. I mean, as long as he can stay healthy. I mean, that's the. But I just think he's the kind of goalie who really will thrive, and you can see it that he's already steering the defense. They passed back to him. They passed back to him 4 times last night in defense. I thought it was like watching a soccer game, passing back to goalies. It's like they're listening to him. He's obviously in control. When you're passing back to your goalie that much, your goalie is calling for the puck. Calling for the puck and telling him.
Well, there's that, and then there's also they want to keep the puck as much as they can away from the other team because they're going to lose. They're going to lose the puck a lot in the offensive zone.
Yeah. Oh, they are, and no question about it. But they do have I was impressed with Marcia. So I really was. He's a talented player. I mean,
He'll get all the ice time. He'll get top power play.
Yeah.
Even if he scores 30 goals, it's like it's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah, it's not. I know it's not. But I mean,
we all realize that they have to put a team on the ice, but and that, but don't. I mean, right now they have 1, 2, 3. They have 9 UFAs on this roster. And now one guy like Grabowski isn't tradable because he's probably never going to play again. But
England's got a job. So
and England's got a job. But Neil is going to be moved. Perron is going to be moved. Marchessault is going to probably be moved, and most of the defensemen are going to be moved. George McVie is going to be the 7-Eleven of the trade deadline. Everybody's going to be going in there for a bag of chips and a bottle of pop.
It'll be before the deadline. It'll be before the deadline, actually.
Yeah, I'm surprised that St. Louis hasn't contacted Vegas. Maybe they have, or Calgary, looking for a guy to help them on the wing, because Vegas again has to put a team on the ice, but it doesn't really matter right now. I mean, everybody expects them to be bad. They'll be competitive, but they're not going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, and they're not going to be great, okay, but I think they're going to be better than you think. They're obviously they have issues and injuries to kill this team. There's a few players that they have to have to be competitive. But and
the second half is going to be rough.
They are
going to lose a lot of players.
Yeah.
I mean, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, who is not even listed on the roster resources in the top 4 lines, he said he's going to play for them every game. There's no question about it. So I've talked to people out there, and then watching him play, he's your prototypical, fourth, third line guy. He's really good at that.
Yeah, I mean,
he's older too, though. So
yeah.
But just think of it this way: at the end of the year, when they do move these UFAs or some of these other players, they're going to have to get players back from the organizations they're trading with to put on the roster, because they don't have a lot of young guys in the minors to fill these spots.
Right.
So you're talking about in the last quarter of the season, them plugging holes with say they make a trade with the Maple Leafs, them plugging holes with Eric Fair or some prospect from the minors like Tobias Lindbergh or something like that. There's going to be
or they'll get expiring contracts.
Or they get other expiring contracts, and these will be guys that they're not really going to care if they fit in the grand concept. It's just going to be a body to occupy a roster spot for the last 20 games.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's true, and I do think certain guys are primed. Like James Neal is going to be a great trade deadline player for sure. And I think that there are guys like Marcia. So I think they're going to try to keep. I think they're going to try to keep. My feeling is that if you're under 20, if you're under like 27, 20 years old, and they're UFA, they're going to try to keep them because they have the money to do it. I mean, they can't. They have the money to sign these guys back. So if they have good experience there, they're going to stay.
It all depends on what that person will want.
Right. I mean, the older players are more likely to be shipped out.
Are you gonna pay Jonathan Marchessault? Say he's your first line power play guy, and he scores 30 goals for the second year in a row, and he asks for $6 million. Are you gonna pay that? I don't think so.
I do. I think they do. Why wouldn't they? I mean, if you're just two years of 30 goal scorer in a row is a $6 million player in the NHL, no matter what team you're on. And if you're on this team especially, you're going to need players. So,
boy,
why wouldn't you? I mean, that's a serious. If you get 30 goals for 2 years in a row playing on Florida and Vegas, I mean, that's significant.
But even other than Marchessault, I mean, Cody Glass will get sent back after 9 games. Who's their next best scorer?
Yeah.
Shipachev, probably.
Shipachev, he's unproven.
Yeah, he looks darn good though. He does. He has a real thing to him. I was impressed by his presence. He's got a real good presence to him. Very big, very upright.
I know we're doing pretty. I have to see something there for a few games to be a believer. But yeah, I mean, expectations will be low. Maybe they'll be entertaining. they're, my question is whether they beat out Colorado in the West. I don't think they'll beat out Arizona.
I saw them the other night. I saw them against a barely Kings roster, and they lost a close one.
Yeah.
I just, I think once the regular season starts, there's going to be a big shock.
Oh yeah, no, there's no question that that's going to happen. I mean, they're not. I mean, we've seen some horrible expansion teams. They're not. They just don't feel like they're as horrible as some of those teams. I mean, just because the talent in the NHL is higher than we're also in this new era. With a lot, we have a lot more talent in the league than we've ever had before too. And some of these guys are not known as like big time stars because we only have so much room for stars, but in our vocabulary. But they're players who can, who are talented players who can definitely provide, and make them at least a noteworthy team. I mean, they're going to be. Are they going to be tough to play against?
Okay.
No. Go ahead.
11. How many are long-term keepers on defense? 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think their top 4. They're going to really, with the exception of Garrett. I mean, obviously Garrison and Engelland are old. So,
2. Nate Schmidt and Shea Theodore. That's it. Maybe Colin Miller, but who knows? I mean,
maybe. And that was the 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, defensively, they're going to have to make moves to pick up more defense. But there are defensemen out there to be had. There are defensemen that can make.
We said that when they were going through the draft and they traded anything that they could have had.
Right. They had Mark Mathot. They traded him, and that
right.
And that is the signal of that is the precursor of what's going to happen at the deadline. They had an asset in Mark Mathot. He's a veteran guy who could help play with young defensemen, but they don't have any young defensemen right now. Their young defenseman is probably going to be in junior or in the minors, so it doesn't help.
Well, Theodore's young.
Right. I mean, but they have other veterans. Like they evaluated the situation, Russ, and they said, okay, we have older guys that can play with Theodore. We can afford to trade Mathot. And at the end of the year, they're going to say, okay, these guys are going to walk away for nothing. We're going to trade them. We're going to get as much as we can for them because we're interested in 3 or 4 years down the line, not this year when we have no chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Here's a good example. I watched the other day a goalie, 6th-round pick for Vegas, Yuri Patera. Did really well, put a write-up on Sportsology. And he's probably 5 years away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I think Mike's getting at is most of the guys they drafted, Glass, Brandstrom, maybe they're a year or 2 away. But to bridge the gap, when they do that, they're going to be bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, they're going to be bad. I mean, they are.
The key to this franchise being competitive in 5 years is to have 3 drafts where you pick in the top 5.
Right.
Get your follow the models of Chicago, of Toronto, of to a lesser extent Edmonton. You don't have to go that bad. Pittsburgh. Where with the Leafs you got Nylander at 8, Marner at 4, and Matthews at 1. You have to get those premium prospects in the top of the first rounds, build around them, have an organization that develops players, and if you can do that, then they can be competitive. But it's going to take.
But here's the thing. So like this upcoming draft, there's guys that could be potential superstars.
Right.
There's 3. Are they going to get in the top 3? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because of the way the ping pong balls bounce, you don't know. But they, I mean, I think that is what they're going to do. They're going to try to follow that, model that I call field an AHL team for the better part of a decade, and you'll become good pretty quickly.
There's still luck involved with that too.
Yeah,
but the one thing that they've benefited from, Russ, is the fact that they've stockpiled the number of draft picks. And what could happen is if they ended up drafting 4 or 5, they could put together a package of numerous draft picks to move up to get that one player. I mean, nobody's going to trade the first pick overall if they think the guy's a superstar. But if they want to move up and move into 2nd or 3rd and they're drafting at 4 or 5, that's a move that they can do with all those extra draft picks.
Here's my bigger question. When are we going to see the first headline? Everything comes up aces for Vegas, or Vegas rolls snake eyes.
Yeah.
Like, when are we going to see those?
Oh, I know the hockey blackjack pick. Come on, that's where we were yesterday. Absolutely, it's already coming. It's already coming. You know, going to gamble. You know, gambling on Vegas and the predictions.
It's craps in Vegas.
Right.
Right.
Everything's legal in Vegas, including fielding an AHL. Yeah. So I know it's going to be. I agree. That's all the time we have for today's show, folks. But really appreciate it again, Russ. Thanks so much for jumping on in difficult situations, I'm sure.
It's a 1-1 game here. Pretty good game.
Excellent. Enjoy your time there. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back on Monday with Winnipeg and Columbus, but then we'll also be getting into our predictions, our full out predictions. We go because this all starts on Wednesday, so we're in our last weekend without hockey. So enjoy it, and we'll be back then. Take care, guys. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Talk to you